Alright, let me tell you about this one time I decided I was bigger than nature. Bigger than the legends and the warnings of the Appalachian Trail in Virginia. My name's Alex and I've been hitting trails since I could walk. But this trail, this journey was supposed to be different. It was meant to be a week-long trek to clear my head, to find some peace away from the city's constant noise. The forecast was all clear skies, perfect for a bit of soul-searching in the wilderness. I packed my gear, everything I need to be out in the open for 7 days, and set off. The trail greeted me like an old friend, the kind that holds secrets in their silence. It was just me, my thoughts, and the untouched beauty of the dense forests of Virginia, until nature decided that I wasn't welcome. Barely 3 days into my hike, under what I thought was a lucky streak of good weather, the skies turned on me. A storm brewed out of nowhere, the kind that makes you question if the clear forecasts were just a cruel joke by the weather gods. I hustled through the thickening underbrush, the first drops of rain pelting me hard like warning shots. That's when I saw it, almost hidden by the overgrowth, a ranger station, abandoned, its windows boarded up, but offering the shelter I desperately needed. Stepping inside was like entering another world, one that had been paused, left to collect dust and memories. But it wasn't just the abandonment that set my nerves on edge. It was signs of recent habitation. A half-eaten can of beans sat on a makeshift table. A dirty sleeping bag was rolled out on a corner. And in the walls were covered in crude drawings and symbols that made no sense, but felt deeply unsettling. Every instinct screamed at me to head back into the storm, rather than spend a minute longer in that place. The logic won over. Just for the night, I told myself, trying to ignore the chill that wasn't from the cold. As much as one could in such a place, convincing myself I was alone, and the signs of occupancy were old, perhaps left by hikers seeking refuge like me. Night in a forest is a different beast, full of sounds and whispers that daylight keeps at bay. But that night, as darkness swallowed the station, it was the silence that unnerved me, punctuated only by the occasional creak of the settling structure and the distant, muffled complaints of the storm outside. I tried to sleep, but to no avail. Then the real nightmare began. Footsteps, unmistakable in their human rhythm, circled the station. Shadows flitted past the boarded windows, and voices. No, not voices, but whispers. Whispers that seemed like echoes of speech, filtered through the cracks. My heart hammered against my ribcage, every sense on high alert. This wasn't just the forest coming to life at night. Something or someone was out there. Fueled by a mix of anger and the need to protect myself, I grabbed my flashlight and knife, stepping into the outside and into the void. The beam of my flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing nothing but trees and rain-soaked undergrowth. The whispers stopped. The shadows vanished, and for a moment I wondered if fear had gotten the better of me. But when I turned back into the station, my backpack lay open on the floor, its contents scattered. My map, previously tucked safely inside, now lay open with markings I hadn't made, cryptic lines and the symbols drawn in a shaky hand, altering paths and adding unknown locations. Morning couldn't come soon enough, and with the first light I was ready to leave this cursed place behind. Yet the forest had one more trick to play. The trail, familiar and marked just yesterday, seemed altered. Cares and markings led me in circles, away from the path I knew. Panic set in when I realized I was being herded, pushed deeper into the forest by those unseen forces that had haunted the night. It was a chase without a pursuer, a flight through a forest that felt alive with malice. By sheer luck, or perhaps some lingering mercy of the trail, I found my way back to civilization. Exhausted, my mind a whirlwind of questions with no answers. I've hiked many trails since then, but never alone. Never without respecting the power and mystery of nature. The Appalachian Trail in Virginia holds a secret, one I was lucky to escape. My vow to never hike it alone again isn't just a promise to myself, it's a warning to others. The trail isn't just a path through the woods, it's a threshold to mysteries we're not meant to understand. Ever since I picked up a camera, I've been drawn to the stories that don't get told, especially the ones that lurk in the shadows, whispered about in hushed tones. My name's Emma, and I'm a documentary filmmaker with a bit of a penchant for the paranormal. Maybe it's the thrill of the unknown, or maybe I just like to be scared. Either way, when I heard about a forgotten village on the outskirts of the Yorkshire Dales, rumored to be haunted, I knew I had my next project. The village, a small, almost ghostly collection of buildings, nestled in a part of Yorkshire that time seemed to have passed by, was the perfect subject. Its history was a tapestry of tales, both mundane and macabre, and I was determined to unravel it. My crew, a tight-knit group who shared my enthusiasm for the eerie, packed up our gear and ready to dive into the village's secrets. We arrived on a typical English afternoon, the sky a tapestry of greys, the air filled with a mist that clung to everything it touched. The village was exactly as we'd imagined it to be. Quiet, with a sense of abandonment that only added to its allure. The few locals we encountered were wary but polite, their faces etching stories I was eager to discover. Before we set up our first shot, we were approached by an elderly local, her back bent with age, her eyes sharp with a warning. "Stay away from the manor at the edge of the village," she told us, her voice carrying the weight of genuine fear. "It's cursed, and it's home to malevolent spirits." Her words sent a shiver down my spine, not of fear though, but of excitement. The manor wasn't on our original list of locations, but how could we resist? It was as if the village itself was inviting us to peel back its layers. Ignoring the elder's warning felt like a rite of passage, a challenge which we couldn't back down from. So that night, armed with cameras and a mixture of skepticism and curiosity, we made our way to the manor, the silhouette of its ancient structure cutting a foreboding figure against the twilight sky. The door creaked open, as if welcoming us into its depths, the air inside stale with the scent of untold stories. As we set up our equipment, the manor seemed to watch us, its walls whispering secrets we could barely grasp. We were not alone, and I don't mean spirits or ghosts, because midway through filming, we stumbled upon a group of local teenagers hiding in one of the dilapidated rooms, makeshift den of their rebellion. Their laughter and the glow of their cigarettes shattered the silence, their sudden appearance as startling as any ghost. They bolted at the sight of us, leaving echoes of their laughter behind, a reminder that not all hauntings are actually from the past. And after the unexpected run-in with the local teenagers, the atmosphere inside the manor shifted palpably. The laughter of the teenagers, echoing off the ancient walls, had briefly lifted the veil of mystery and dread that hung over the place. But once alone again, the weight of the manor's history settled back upon us, a tangible reminder of why we were actually here. The night's earlier antics had spooked us more than we cared to admit. Our laughter at the fleeing teens faded as we were left in silence, save for the occasional creak and the groan of the old structure settling around us. It was in this silence that the manor began to reveal its true self. Not through poltergeists or moving objects, but through eerie ways our voices seemed to be swallowed by the darkness, the cold spots that could be chalked up to the drafts in the dilapidated building, and the unsettling feeling of being watched. Our exploration led us to a room that seemed to serve as the heart of the manor's mysteries. Here, the air felt thick, charged with an unspoken narrative of years past. As we pored over old letters and diaries, we found scattered amongst the debris the tragic tale of the family who once lived here unfolded. Their story was not one of dark rituals, but one of a more earthly sorrow. A series of misfortunes and losses that left them ostracized, whispered about by the villagers, their demise a subject of speculation rather than record. The decision to conduct a seance was born out of the desire to connect with the history of the manor, to perhaps offer some closure. But as we sat in the dim light, the circle of our hands joined atop an old, dust-covered table, the air heavy with anticipation, and it became clear that the only spirits in this place were the memories and regrets that lingered in its halls. The only responses to our questions were the creaks of the old building and the rustling of the trees outside, a natural orchestra that played tricks in our imagination. Our final night in the village was restless. The manor, with its sad history and atmospheric haunts, had left its mark on us. We packed up our equipment with the first light, eager to leave behind the oppressive atmosphere of the place. The footage we captured told a story, not of ghosts and ghouls, but of a forgotten piece of history, a family's legacy left to decay, and the power of place to hold on to the past. Back in the comfort of the modern world, the manor seemed like a distant dream, a stark reminder of the fine line between history and legend. Our documentary, while devoid of supernatural revelations, offered something perhaps more valuable, a glimpse into the human capacity for storytelling, for finding mystery in the mundane, and the importance of remembering those who came before us. Reflecting on our time in the forgotten village of Yorkshire, I realized that the true terror wasn't in the possibility of encountering spirits, but in the reality of facing our own fears and imaginations in the silence and solitude of such a haunting place. The manor didn't need ghosts to be terrifying. Its history and our own minds were more than enough. Ever had one of those nights that start off normal, but end up making you question everything you thought you knew? Well, buckle up, because that's exactly what went down with me. My name's Marco, and Venice is my backyard. I mean, literally, I grew up here, but nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for what I encountered on a supposedly ordinary night. It all started with a plan to kayak through some lesser-known canals of Venice at night. Yeah, I know, kayaking in Venice sounds touristy, but when you choose spots away from the crowds, it's a whole other world. A quiet, eerie, and absolutely fascinating world. This particular night, I was feeling more adventurous than usual, and decided to explore an area of the canal system that even the locals steer clear of. It's this ancient, tangled web of waterways, rumored to be cursed by Venetians from centuries ago. I've always been a sucker for urban legends and figured, hey, why not? The evening kicked off without a hitch. The sky was clear, the air was crisp, and the city had that serene, almost mystical vibe it gets after dark. I paddled through familiar canals with ease, the only light from my headlamp cutting through the night, guiding me deeper into the heart of Venice's shadowy past. The further I went, the more I felt like I was drifting away from the modern world, and into a chapter of history that was never written down. Then, out of nowhere, this dense fog rolled in, thick and fast, swallowing up everything around me. Visibility dropped to nearly zero and the whole vibe changed. It went from serene to something straight out of a horror movie in a matter of seconds. And that's when I heard it. The singing. It was faint at first, so faint I thought I was imagining it. But as I paddled forward, it grew louder and clearer. A woman's voice, mournful and haunting, echoing of the water and the stone walls like a sorrowful lament from the past. It was beautiful, but in the most heartbreaking way. Curiosity got the better of me and I followed the sound through the fog, until I stumbled upon an old, abandoned gondola floating aimlessly. It looked like it hadn't been touched in ages. Inside, there was this antique locket containing the portrait of a woman who locals say vanished on her wedding night hundreds of years ago. The moment I laid eyes on that locket, everything felt off, like I'd intruded on a private moment frozen in time. The singing stopped as suddenly it had started, replaced by whispers that seemed to come from all around me. I couldn't make out the words, but the message was clear. I wasn't welcome there. That's when the calm waters around me started churning, violently, as if something unseen was trying to break free from the canal's depths. Panic set in, and every instinct screamed at me to flee, to paddle back to the safety of the familiar well-lit canals. And so I did. I paddled like my life depended on it, the whispers and the turbulent water chasing me, until I emerged from the fog, heart pounding, back to the Venice I knew. I haven't gone back to those ancient canals since that night. I've tried to rationalize what had happened, to convince myself that it was all just a trick of the mind, a result of the fog and the darkness, and the stories I grew up with. But deep down, I knew that it was more than that. I came face to face with something unexplainable, something ancient and powerful that still lingers in the forgotten corners of Venice. I've shared this story with a few close friends, but I can tell that they don't fully believe me. And I get it. It sounds crazy, but it doesn't matter, because I know what I experienced. Venice, for all its beauty and charm, holds secrets in its waters, secrets that are best left undiscovered. So take it from me, a born and raised Venetian who thought he knew his city inside and out. Some mysteries are too deep and too dark to explore, and the canals at night, they're a world unto themselves. A world where the past isn't as gone as we might think.